Hello and welcome to RedRisks, and in this video we're going to be talking about LOPA, Layers of Protection Analysis. Layers of Protection Analysis is a structured way to manage risks, and with LOPA we review the critical layers of defense that safeguard operations and workforce in order to ensure a secure and resilient working environment. A comprehensive analysis using LOPA empowers organizations and companies to proactively mitigate risks and help towards fostering a positive culture in terms of process and workplace safety. Let's take a deeper dive into what LOPA means for real-world applications in this short presentation. If you're new to the channel, of course, please subscribe and I can keep you updated of new videos when they're being posted. Right, LOPA. So what exactly is Layers of Protection Analysis, LOPA? LOPA is a structured and systematic approach to identifying and evaluating the layers of protection against sort of potential hazards in a process or workplace. LOPA helps to quantify the risk of hazardous events by determining the likelihood of its occurrence and the severity of its consequences, the standard model for risk assessment. LOPA focuses on identifying and evaluating the effectiveness of independent protection layers, and you'll see these as acronyms, IPLs, and these are safeguards that can prevent or mitigate the consequences of a hazardous event. By systematically assessing these IPLs, Layers of Protection Analysis helps determine the required safety integrity levels, and you'll see that as the acronym SILs. This is to ensure an acceptable level of risk. Why is LOPA important, especially when it comes to process and workplace safety? LOPA is a critical tool that we use for ensuring the safety and integrity of industrial processes and workplace environments. By systematically identifying and evaluating IPLs, independent protection layers, LOPA helps organizations effectively mitigate the risks associated with the hazardous scenarios, ultimately safeguarding employees, assets, and the surrounding community. LOPA is a comprehensive approach to process and workplace safety, and it enables organizations to, make informed decisions, prioritize safety investments, and enhance the overall resilience of their operations. This method plays a really vital role in preventing catastrophic incidents and minimizing the likelihood and consequences of incidents and accidents. It also helps towards promoting a strong culture of safety within the workplace. It plays a very important role, LOPA. So we need to go forward towards understanding hazardous scenarios and their consequences, because identifying potential hazards and understanding their potential impacts is crucial for effective process and workplace safety. This involves conducting thorough risk assessments to anticipate and mitigate the consequences of hazardous events such as chemical spills, explosions, or machinery malfunctions. By analysing the sequence of events that could lead to an incident and the severity of its impact, organisations can develop appropriate safeguards and emergency response plans to protect their workers, the environment, and the surrounding community. When we think about identifying independent protection layers, IPLs, we're looking at automatic systems that are designed to detect and respond to hazardous conditions, such as pressure relief valves and emergency shutdown systems. Written instructions, checklists, and protocols that guide personnel actions to mitigate risks and prevent incidents. When it comes to human factors, we think about proper training, competence, and situational awareness of operators and other personnel to recognize and respond to hazards. In terms of identifying IPLs, we can go toward looking at engineering safeguards, procedural safeguards, and also human factors. In terms of evaluating the effectiveness of IPLs, we can look at identifying failure modes, where we thoroughly analyze potential failure modes for each IPL to determine the reliability and effectiveness. When it comes to quantifying the probability of failure, we really assign failure probabilities to each IPL based on historical data or testing or industry standards to evaluate the overall risk reduction. Verifying independence is where we ensure that the IPLs are truly independent and not subject to common cause failures that could compromise the entire system. A note here on safety integrity levels, SILs, that we talked about earlier. So determining the safety integrity level SIL is a critical step in LOPA processes. The SIL evaluation process is really where we're assessing the effectiveness of the identified IPL, the independent protection layer, and it quantifies the risk reduction they provide. SIL levels can range from 1 to 4, with 4 representing the highest level of safety integrity and risk reduction. Applying LOPA to different industries, we can consider a number of them. LOPA is widely used to assess hazards and identify critical safeguards in chemical manufacturing processes, ensuring process safety and compliance with regulations. Upstream, midstream and downstream operations in the oil and gas industry benefit greatly from LOPA to mitigate risks associated with flammable materials, high pressures and process complexity. LOPA helps manufacturers identify and address potential hazards in production lines, packaging and material handling, promoting a safer workplace for employees. And LOPA is crucial in the pharmaceutical industry to assess risks related to active pharmaceutical ingredients, cross-contamination, and compliance with current good manufacturing practices, which you may have seen abbreviated as GMPs. Let's peel these back one by one and let's look at LOPA in the chemical industry. LOPA is crucial in the chemical industry to systematically look at hazards such as toxic releases, explosions, and fires and assess the effectiveness of their safeguards. LOPA helps chemical facilities implement multiple IPLs, independent protection layers, including alarms and emergency shutdown systems and human intervention to mitigate the consequences of those hazardous events. LOPA provides a structured methodology to quantify the risk of these chemical processes, enabling data-driven decision-making and targeted investment in safety improvements. Now, LOPA in the oil and gas sector, well, the oil and gas industry with its inherent hazards relies heavily on LOPA to enhance process and workplace safety. LOPA provides a structured approach to, again, identifying critical IPLs, independent protection layers, that safeguard against potential catastrophic events. By evaluating the effectiveness of these IPLs, such as safety instrumented systems, again, some more acronyms that you may have seen as SIS, emergency shutdown valves, and human intervention, LOPA helps determine the appropriate safety integrity level, the SIL, to ensure the necessary level of protection. My apologies in advance for this abundance of acronyms when you talk about LOPA or layers of protection analysis. LOPA in the manufacturing environment, well, let's look at this in a bit more detail. LOPA helps manufacturers identify potential hazards and implement effective safeguards to protect workers and optimize production processes. In highly automated manufacturing settings, LOPA ensures reliable IPLs are in place to mitigate risks from machinery and equipment. And again, LOPA integrates with quality management systems to identify critical safety control points and also verify the effectiveness of any protective measures. Let's consider looking at integrating LOPA with other safety techniques. LOPA really complements HAZOPs by providing a more quantitative approach to assessing the effectiveness of safeguards and determining the required safety integrity level, the SIL. In terms of FMEA, failure modes and effects analysis, FMEA identifies potential failure modes, whilst LOPA evaluates the likelihood and consequence of these failures, enabling a comprehensive safety assessment. LOPA builds upon the hazard identification and consequences analysis performed in PHA's, process hazard analysis, thereby adding a layer of quantitative risk assessments. LOPA can be incorporated into the management of change process to evaluate the impact of changes on the existing layers of protection. There are, of course, challenges and limitations of LOPA, and LOPA analysis can be complex and time-consuming, especially for large or complex systems, which can make it a challenge to implement effectively. Accurate data on the probability and frequency of hazardous events may not always be readily available, which can of course impact the reliability of LOPA. Some aspects of LOPA, such as evaluation of effectiveness IPLs, can be subjective, which may lead to inconsistencies in the analysis. LOPA is primarily focused on addressing specific hazards and may not consider a broader organizational or systemic factors that can impact processes and workplace safety. So there are some of the challenges here and limitations of LOPA. When we think about best practices, we can define the specific goals and expected outcomes of your layers of protection analysis implementation to ensure that it aligns with your organization's safety priorities. We can bring together a cross-functional team with expertise in process engineering, safety, operations, and risk analysis to conduct thorough LOPA assessments. We can gather detailed information on equipment, processes, and past incidents to establish a solid foundation for the LOPA analysis. Continuous improvement is of course important, and regular review and update of LOPA to account for changes in processes, equipment, or regulations to ensure that they have an ongoing safety performance mode built in. So a short sort of presentation on LOPA. I'm sure we can do a lot more content on this. This is just to give you an overview. It's important to embrace LOPA for safer work practices, because LOPA offers a robust and comprehensive framework for enhancing process and workplace safety. By diligently identifying and evaluating IPLs, independent protection layers, organizations can effectively mitigate risks and ensure the well-being of their employees and the surrounding environment. If you're new to the channel, of course, please subscribe and I can update you with videos as I upload them. But if you've been here before, of course, I welcome your thoughts and comments, as with, of course, all newcomers. It's always good to have continuous improvement when it comes to creating these videos. Thank you. Catch you on the next one.